Today marks a significant milestone in my life as I find myself back in the family home, a place rich with cherished memories and walls that seem to whisper stories from the past. My cat Roy is here too, his excitement infectious as he darts around, filling the space with a sense of joy I can't help but share. This house, the heart of my family's legacy, is where my father's dreams were realized. He transformed it into an extraordinary estate, now valued at $6 million, a monument to his life's work and a legacy he left behind for me. After his passing, it became mine, but now, in his absence, my husband is eager to claim a part of this inheritance, arguing that it should belong to both of us. Yet, I stand firm, armed with documents that affirm my sole ownership. My name is Marilyn, I'm 40 years old, and I work in the digital realm at an online bank. My career path mirrors the financial principles my parents instilled in me, lessons in money management and financial responsibility that continue to guide me today. Though I grew up with affluence, my parents ensured I lived a grounded life. Our meals were simple, our allowance modest, and my education was in a public school, choices that stood in stark contrast to the expectations others might have had. Despite this, rumors of our wealth led many to believe my life was a parade of luxury and leisure. Marilyn, with your grand house and wealth, life must be a breeze, right? You must have all the latest gadgets and games. Can we come over and play? Were frequent questions from peers who envisioned a life for me that was far from my reality. I didn't have the newest toys or gaming consoles, yet the assumption persisted that I did, and it seemed like many were more interested in the perceived perks of my lifestyle than in me as a person. Today, standing in this house surrounded by both the tangible and intangible remnants of my heritage, I'm reminded of what truly enriches my life. It's not material wealth, but the values and memories that have shaped who I am. Growing up in a financially secure family often put me in uncomfortable situations where friends or acquaintances asked for money, something that made me uneasy. It felt like a contradiction to the lessons of self-reliance and discretion my parents had taught me. This discomfort deepened during an incident when I accidentally broke Emma's gaming console. I didn't have the money to replace it, and the situation only grew worse. Around the same time, a new classmate, Barbara, entered my life. She asked if I had told my parents about the incident with the console, but I was too afraid of disappointing them, so I stayed silent. I can't tell them. They might get upset. I confided in Barbara, hoping she would understand. Unfortunately, when she asked me for financial help soon after, I had to refuse. My parents had a strict rule against lending money. Apologizing to Barbara was difficult, and it made our school interactions awkward. Things took a turn for the worse when Barbara reacted tearfully to my refusal, and soon, rumors began to spread that I was unwilling to help a friend, despite my family's wealth. I tried, in vain, to explain that I didn't have the money to spare. Emma had made a hurtful comment, implying that I valued money over friendship. The situation worsened when Emma and Barbara spread false claims that I owed them money for the broken console. Eventually, the school intervened and learned the truth, reprimanding them both. Still, the rumors persisted, eventually reaching my parents. My father arranged a meeting with both families, and despite their apologies, the damage to our relationships was irreparable. I chose to distance myself from Emma and Barbara, though their cold stares and whispered comments lingered. That evening, my dad offered some advice that would stay with me through the years. He stressed the importance of being firm in our decisions, especially when it came to money. "Marilyn, it's perfectly fine to say no," he said, his tone warm and reassuring. He also gave me a practical approach for handling persistent requests for money. If someone keeps asking, just tell them you need to check with your parents, even if you already know the answer is no. This advice on managing money matters with grace and assertiveness became a cornerstone of my growth. As I matured, I became more selective about the people I allowed into my inner circle, prioritizing character over financial considerations. Post-university, I was determined to keep my professional and personal lives separate, avoiding any financial entanglements. These experiences taught me the importance of setting clear boundaries in both friendships and finances, shaping the person I've become today. When I was 32, I met Scott through a mutual friend. Despite the age difference between us, his authenticity and warmth were immediately captivating. What began as casual dating soon blossomed into something much more serious. 3 years later, we celebrated our commitment to each other with a beautiful wedding, much to my parents' delight. A month into our marriage, my father suggested we invite Scott over to our home. I hesitated at first, Scott was a talkative person, and I worried he might inadvertently share sensitive family matters. Still, feeling more secure in our relationship, I decided it was time to introduce him to my family's world. During the visit, Scott was visibly impressed by our home, revealing that he hadn't fully grasped the extent of our wealth. The visit went smoothly, but I was uncomfortable with his relentless questions about our finances on the drive home, especially since I wasn't fully aware of the details myself. A few months later, everything changed. My mother called to inform me that my father had been hospitalized. I was shocked, as I had no idea he was unwell. I vividly remembered our last visit, when he'd seemed a little under the weather, but I had no idea it was more serious. Guilt and worry overtook me. When my mother and I visited him in the hospital that Saturday, despite his best efforts to remain upbeat, it was clear he was struggling. He even apologized for what he felt was a burden on us, which was so typical of his kind-hearted nature. The doctor's diagnosis hit us like a freight train: advanced pancreatic cancer, too far along for surgery. It was hard to comprehend how someone as health-conscious as my father could fall so ill. Throughout his diagnosis, he remained focused on our happiness, which only deepened the sadness. Hospital regulations restricted visitors to immediate family, which saddened him, as he had hoped to create more happy memories with friends. This was a stark reminder of the vibrant life he had once envisioned for all of us. I promised him that I would keep our home a place of joy, even in his absence. This promise became my anchor during that difficult period. To honor my father, I decided to renovate our family home, giving me something positive to focus on while coping with the emotional strain. Scott, always caring, expressed concern about how much I was involving myself in the project, unaware of the additional challenges I was facing, including issues with the family estate that I had yet to share with him. When Scott asked about my father's condition, I finally opened up about the difficulties we were dealing with. It felt like a relief to share the burden as I balanced work, hospital visits, and the overwhelming emotions that came with them. But as Scott started asking more questions, particularly about the financial side of my father's illness and the status of the family estate, tension began to surface. He even suggested we seek legal advice to prepare for any eventuality concerning my mother, which stirred painful memories. My father had always worked with a trusted lawyer, and the thought of navigating legal matters at such a delicate time felt incredibly raw and complicated. Scott's cautious approach to finances continued to create friction in our relationship. This tension only intensified when my father passed away after a brave fight against his illness. As we navigated the grief and challenges of that period, discussions about inheritance began to emerge within my family, further complicating matters. I inherited a substantial property, a mansion valued at $6 million, which only intensified Scott's curiosity and involvement. Despite my best efforts to keep him out of these discussions, his excitement about moving into the mansion and his relentless questions about financial details caught me off guard. It wasn't long before I discovered that, at the funeral, Scott had spoken with my cousin, who had casually mentioned that it would be a waste for such a grand house to remain empty. That offhand remark only added fuel to the fire and complicated things further. Although I made it clear to Scott that the inheritance was mine alone and not something to be shared, he seemed unwilling or unable to accept this. The tension between us deepened, and our relationship grew increasingly strained. At my father's funeral, Scott was physically present but emotionally distant, offering no help with the memorial services or the legal matters that followed. As we struggled to adjust to daily life after the funeral, Scott shocked me with the revelation that he had changed the ownership of the family home into his name. He presented legal documents as proof. This betrayal wasn't just a breach of trust, it was a clear violation of the respect and boundaries I had always expected in our marriage. The inheritance issues brought deeper, underlying problems to the surface, forcing us to question our values, the trust between us, and the future of our relationship. When Scott bluntly suggested we could continue living together as roommates in the house with little financial contribution from him, and even threatened divorce if I disagreed, I was devastated. The sheer magnitude of his actions and proposals was overwhelming. I pleaded with him to reconsider, hoping he would realize the emotional and relational turmoil his decisions had caused. Scott justified his unilateral action by claiming he had consulted a lawyer, but this revelation only escalated the tension. It became clear that divorce was inevitable. I felt utterly betrayed and isolated, and I knew I had to distance myself from the life and the home I had shared with Scott. His actions seemed to reflect a dramatic shift in his perspective on money, one that had poisoned both our relationship and my sense of trust. The situation worsened the following day when Scott demanded the house keys, claiming ownership. His attempt to enter the house was thwarted by security, but the damage had already been done. I provided Scott with the legitimate ownership documents, proving that the house was indeed mine, a gift from my father. Upon seeing the proof, Scott was taken aback. He had entrusted a man named Frank to handle the legalities of changing the ownership, paying him $410,000, only to find out it was all a scam. Frank was nowhere to be found, ignoring all of Scott's attempts to contact him. Scott's frustration quickly turned toward me. He accused me of overspending and questioned my understanding of inheritance laws. Despite his efforts to mend our relationship and his suggestion that we give our marriage another shot, the trust we once shared was irreparably damaged. I had to ask the security guard to escort him off the property, marking the end of a painful chapter in my life. In the months that followed, I had ample time to reflect on everything that had transpired. This period of introspection helped me understand just how crucial trust and honesty are in a relationship. The ordeal with Scott, filled with deceit and betrayal, taught me to guard against letting financial matters cloud my judgment. During the first memorial service for my dad at our family temple, Scott made an unexpected appearance. Since our divorce, his life had taken a downward turn. He was unemployed and facing financial difficulties. Seeing him there, visibly distressed and out of place at such a solemn event, was a stark reminder of how drastically our lives had diverged since the split. His tearful attempt to apologize caused a stir among my relatives. Despite his emotional state, I knew I had to ask him to leave, and security had to intervene to ensure it happened. This moment, though difficult, reinforced my desire to move forward and leave our shared past behind. I decided it was time to move out of my parents' home, a choice I had been considering for some time. I found a new place to live, severing ties with Scott completely. Meanwhile, Scott continued to visit the property, which my mom and I had transformed into a rental villa. This new venture allowed us to turn the family property into a source of joy and a retreat for many visitors. On his part, Scott appeared to be making positive strides. He secured a new job and seemed committed to starting fresh. Transforming the family home into a rental villa not only fulfilled my dad's vision but also created a warm and inviting space for guests from all walks of life. Known for its stunning views and beautiful garden, the villa quickly gained popularity, hosting intimate weddings and large family gatherings. Working alongside my mom on this project brought us closer and filled us with joy. As the villa's success grew, we decided to enhance it further, adding a swimming pool, a cozy outdoor lounge, and a playful area for children. Each new addition made the villa even more appealing, turning it into a beloved destination for relaxation and celebration. It symbolized a new chapter of growth and happiness for us. Our dedication to ensuring a fantastic experience for every guest paid off, as the villa became a favored retreat for those seeking peace and memorable experiences. This project became more than just a business venture. It was about fulfilling my father's dream and creating cherished memories for everyone who visited. Taking care of the villa's garden brought me immense joy, and transforming our family home into a vibrant place for gatherings and fun filled me with pride. I could almost sense my father's pride looking down on us, seeing his vision come to life. This endeavor not only realized his dream but also provided us with financial stability and a newfound sense of freedom. Throughout this journey, I learned valuable lessons about trust, finance, and the strength required to carve out my path, independent of past challenges. This process of self-discovery taught me that facing difficulties can strengthen and motivate one to keep moving forward. From friends, I heard updates about Scott, who seemed to be turning his life around by finding meaningful work and learning from his past mistakes. Knowing he was making positive changes brought me a sense of calm, as it became clear that both of us were advancing and maturing in our own ways. My father's vision became a catalyst for growth, not just for my mom and me, but for every guest who visited the villa. It transformed into a hub of joy and celebration, a sanctuary where people could create lasting memories. The success of the villa stands as a tribute to my father's vision, embodying resilience and hard work. Through this venture, we created much more than just a place to stay. The villa has become a beacon of happiness, a place for crafting memories, and a testament to the idea that dreaming big and working hard can lead to remarkable outcomes.